Industrial group LEAX have reported for the second quarter 2023. And to comment on the result, I have the group president and CEO, Mr. Tony Nicol, in the studio. Welcome, Tony.
Great to be here, Matthias.
So, less volatility and strong customer focus drives improvements. That's the title of your CEO comment to the report. Could you please elaborate a bit on this?
Yes, I can. So I'll actually start on the second half of that comment on the strong customer focus and talk a little bit about what that means for the company. And for the first part of that is really focusing on delivery. As you'll see in our revenue line, sales are pretty strong this quarter, and that puts a lot of pressure on making sure that our customers get our components on time to enable their customers to receive their parts. So a real strong focus on delivery and quality, the things our customer expects from us. But the underlying part of that comment is really a shout out to our sales team. As I've reported in previous quarters, there's a ton of inflationary pressure on the business. And that strong customer focus is making sure that we're in front of our customers and stating our case to make sure that some of that pricing can flow through to the customer. But certainly having the great KPIs, 100% on-time delivery, great quality, makes those conversations a lot easier.
I'm sure they are.
And then the second part of the comment about less volatility, again, your viewers will have heard me talk about volatile order boards that have really adversely affected the company's results. We now see 2 quarters of order board stability. And in our industrial setting, understanding day to day what you need to produce without changes allows you just a much smoother runway for planning production, planning the people to produce the parts, and making sure everyone is productive. And we can see that in the bottom line.
So if we move on to some figures for the quarter, net sales increased to 558.6 million Swedish kronor compared to 539.8, and your operating profit increased to 32.6 million Swedish kronor compared to 24.8 in the same quarter last year. It's quite an improvement. What are driving these numbers?
Well, as I mentioned in the opening, certainly a strong order book is reflected in the top line revenue number. If my memory serves me, this may be the strongest quarter we've had as a company. So within that number, again, as your viewers will totally understand, there is some inflation in those numbers. But overall, the markets that we serve, specifically the commercial vehicle market and our industrial customers, have very good order books. And that definitely is reflected in the LEAX revenue number. On the profit line, a couple things to talk about there. First of all, and I think I highlight this in the Q2 report, we did have a one-time energy compensation from the Swedish state. Thank you very much on behalf of many industrial companies that have benefited from that. So that we've highlighted that. But if you look quarter over quarter, 22 versus 23, you'll see quite a similar result. And that, for us in management and at the board level, just tells us that our underlying profitability is there. We have a long way to go to, hit some of the targets we have for the company, but we're quite pleased with the result.
You can tell that the period has been working very smoothly for the company operations because there are no important events to read in the report. But what I do see is that both your EBITDA margin as well as your operating margin have improved quarter on quarter for at least 4 quarters, I think. over time. What are the drivers to this, and can you keep this pace on improvement of margins?
Well, the future, is something we try to predict, and our forecast models, we spend a lot of time on that, as you can imagine. And I appreciate you highlighting my nice boring report this month, this quarter. We tend to like those boring quarters. Again, your viewers will have heard me use the word challenge maybe 25 times in the last two interviews we've had. Not that there isn't, continued challenges in the business. I'd be foolish to say there isn't. But it really is coming back to stability. We've gone through a period of intense instability, starting with COVID, jumping into Ukraine and some of the macro things. Those things are still there, but I guess under control somewhat. And as I've said in the past, there's been underlying demand for the products that the customers of our end markets are using. That demand has not gone away despite the crisis that we've had. And so, with good demand, with some stability on a macro level, we've got good customers, good order boards, and margin in the business. For margin improvement, that lies within the continuous improvement philosophy we have in the company, and we do have a long way to go, but we're on our way.
Could you describe a bit in detail how do you work on increasing your margins? What does that mean in practice?
Anybody in manufacturing will understand that there's the tools that you have in your toolbox. Particularly in places where you have a high labor content, automation is kind of fundamental to that. We see more and more a trend towards digitalization. That's a tough word for me to say, but I do understand the digital 4.0, industry 4.0 journey we're on, which is really about efficiency. It boils down to efficiency, Matthias. The more efficient you become in your process, and that's everything from order entry to order delivery and everything in between, the better chance you have of improving your margin.
In the Q1 interview, you talked about labor cost increase and ongoing inflation. What is your view on these factors today?
Well, that's a good question. I think my view on it is that it's still a challenge for the business. As you know, we're a global company. We've recently settled with our union partners here in Sweden on the annual increase, which is a significant cost to the business. In other parts of the world, that wage inflation is in fact much higher, albeit starting from a lower base. I don't see that pressure disappearing. I think I see it stabilizing. I think there's some sanity coming to the inflation pressure. Things cannot go up forever. But we have to keep a laser focus on these things in order to manage.
In this type of business that you are, can you describe how innovation can be a key factor for success over time?
I would tell you, without plugging the company, even though that's what I'm here to do in some cases, as well as report to our stakeholders. We love innovation. That is what LEAX stands for. And without innovation, literally without innovation, survival is questionable. So what that means for LEAX is to try and innovate in every single thing that we do. So whether it's product, whether it's process, whether it's people. The idea of innovation is change. So I haven't looked up innovation in the dictionary lately, but innovation does mean change, and change for the better. So really, when we wake up in the morning, that's kind of the mantra, as well as improving on what we did yesterday to be better tomorrow. Innovation is a key enabler for that, and really drives everything we do in the company.
And just to make sure that you're comfortable in this interview, I want to ask, what challenges are you focusing on now?
Thank you very much. The challenges we're focused on now revolve around three things for me. And very simplistically, the short term, the mid, and the long term. For the short term, it's to continue to do what we're doing. We have, I think, a tremendous amount of activity in the company. We have a great spirit in the company today. We're growing. We can, we feel that, we feel the energy, and that's kind of the day-to-day, what I call the hand-to-hand combat. It's being in front of the customers, making sure that we're getting heard when it comes to things like inflation, making sure that, as I mentioned in the beginning, that all of our KPIs are best in class, and that our customers consider us an excellent supplier. So that's the short term, and that's just keep doing what you're doing, but try and be better every day. The midterm is really understanding where the markets are going, and making sure that we're positioning the company to continue to diversify our end markets, and then long term, it comes back to your comment about innovation. Long term, the challenge is to make sure that we're investing in the right places, we're investing in the right technology, and that we're investing in the right people to ensure that the company can innovate and drive what I call the engineering content in the LEAX business portfolio, which again, coming back to one of your questions about margin, that will drive margin improvement for the company. So, other than the macro challenges that we're all keeping our eyes on, if I get quite insular and look at LEAX itself, those are the things we're focused on.
Thank you so much. That was all my questions for today. Thank you so much for taking your time.
My pleasure.